All right. Good morning, guys. Welcome back to another Diesel Dog Garage video. Yet another video of me working on my own junk. Today we're doing brakes all around, all four corners on the 2010 Silverado. I got all my parts laid out. My truck's set up with drum brakes in the rear. And we're gonna be doing shoes and wheel cylinders on the back first, because this is the hardest, and you always start with the hardest job first, right? We get this done, then we can do rotors and pads in the front. That's gravy work. First things first, gotta get these drums off. So now that I got our drum off here, we can kind of dissect this thing a little bit. First things first, you're gonna start looking at kind of what your shoes look like. These are actually the original shoes that were on the truck. I've now got like 165,000 miles on this truck, almost. So I'd say that's honestly pretty good. There's still material left. They're not broken apart. Sometimes you pull a drum off and one of these will be split in half and just be hanging there, and it's been moving around the whole time for like 10,000 miles or something you just didn't know. Wheel cylinder is not looking healthy. That's definitely getting changed. I have been losing brake fluid actually, which is why I suspected that these were leaking. This one for sure is leaking. Hopefully we can get our line loose in the back. Gonna get everything cleaned up in here. I've only had these drums off once since owning the truck. You can see they just need to be cleaned up. Looking at our drum here, you're gonna wanna be looking for some waviness, maybe a lip. I got a little bit of a lip here, but that looks like that's more just filled up from the shoe not contacting that part. Doesn't feel too bad. A little bit of discoloration, but they really don't feel too bad, so I'm gonna reuse these. It's actually been a while since I've had a set of drum brakes apart like this, so sometimes you just gotta Leroy Jenkins it and dig right in. Woo! Kinda goes without saying, but always make sure you lay all your springs and everything out the way they came off, so you can remember how it all goes back together. This is the easy style right here. For a while, GM used some drum brakes that had like a big horseshoe spring that went from side to side and connected in the middle, and those could either be really easy or sometimes give you a lot of hassle. These are Deer Tay. This is a special spring tool you may or may not have, but this thing makes getting these retainers off and on very easy. Get the old parking brake cable arm off here, and there we go. One good thing about drum brakes is you can get a lot longer life out of them than you can if you had disc brakes in the back. Clean all this up, get the wheel cylinder out of here, get the new one on, and then slap her back together. All right, guys, now I'm going to show you something on this wheel cylinder here, because a lot of people are going to run into this. I run into it probably 8 out of 10 times I do a friggin' wheel cylinder, especially on a truck that's 10 years old and it never been loose. The line's never been loose. It's all rusted up. You can either twist that line off and replace it, or you can try doing this. Let's see if this works. Now the threaded fitting is loose in the wheel cylinder. It's moving. The problem is the fitting is rusted solid to the brake line itself, the hard line. So you can either let it soak in penetrating oil, which I do not have here at the house anymore, or take your bolts out. One, in this case these are using an 8mm socket. Two, you gotta get it loose from the backing plate. There we go. See if it'll pull out here any. Okay, and then you can spin the wheel cylinder off of the brake line nut. Like that. Get the new one. I'm gonna go ahead and pop the bleeder out there just to make things easier. Stick her on the end there. And just thread it on like so. Now we're getting tight here. So I'm going to put my wrench on the back side on the nut to hold it so I don't twist the line too much. And I'm gonna spin that wheel cylinder by hand here. Oh, we're pretty tight there. Stick her back in the hole. The line's gonna be a little bit tweaked there now because I moved it, but get her bolts back on the back side. Tighten them up. Make sure this line is snug back here. You don't want to have to move it too much because you don't want that line twisting too much, but voila. Saved that line. Didn't have to replace it, didn't have to twist it off. Didn't have to do another double-sided flare on there or anything, and got a new wheel cylinder. Once I get her in there, I like to leave the bleeder loose right away and just start letting that fluid gravity bleed for a little bit. Once I see it dripping, I'll close it until we're ready to bleed the brakes. So here we go, moving on. Got our shoes ready to go. I should mention that depending on what vehicle you're working on, you should look at your material, the length of which it spans the actual shoe. These are all the same length, but sometimes you'll get one side that has a shorter material pattern and one side will be longer. On this particular vehicle, they're the same length, so you don't really have to worry about that. Shoes ready to go. Got our new clip for our e-brake arm and anti-seize, like I said. I don't know what happened to this brush, Jesus. This thing's brand new. So you're gonna stick a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. Try not to get this on any body part because it will spread and you'll end up looking like a Tin Man. At least this isn't the shiny stuff. But I still got it on my hand and I guarantee it'll end up somewhere else here. First thing I do is get these things pinned back on. Part right here is usually where it would help to have 3 arms, but make do with what you got. There we go. Squeeze! That thing ain't going anywhere. Shoes are hung, we can get our springs. Bottom. Oof. Whoa, bud. 1, 2, 3. Ah. Actually, kind of wish I would have put this in first. Voila. Drum brakes. I should mention, if you want to take it a step further and change the rear end fluid, you can pop that out of there and take these axles out and change your axle seals right away while you're here, but I am not doing that today. My bleeder started dripping, so I closed that up. We've got this side pretty much ready to put the drum on, adjust it up. Let's see how close we are here. Sounds like it might be all right, but I like to hear a little bit more drag than that. You might think, oh man, that's way too tight. I think that's pretty good right there. I like that. I like to put a little touch of anti-seize around where the drum rides too, because down the road I might need to take it back off and won't have to hammer it off like I did. There. I think we're probably good right there. If I don't like it, I can always adjust it from the back side, but I like to get it at least as close as possible, then I don't have to mess with that. I'm pretty satisfied with that. So there you go, drum brakes on the back. I'm gonna do the other side now, and then we'll turn her around and we'll get the old front rotors and brakes on. So now that the hard part's done in the back, we can focus on the front. Let's see what we got here. Looks like maybe some 18 millimeters, a couple more 18 millimeters. We'll squeeze the caliper in. These rotors are junk, they're warped as all hell, and got a pretty good lip on them right there. So gonna have a Torx head bolt to get the rotor off here, and then I'll take it apart, slap it all back together. We'll take it for a drive and see if she feels any better. I'm gonna pull the caliper loose first from the caliper mounting bracket. Slide right off. Sometimes you gotta work on them a little bit. Now these shoes are actually not that old, but I'm putting new ones in anyways because these are some cheap organic shoes and the brake dust is brutal on them. I've been dealing with brake dust for however long I've had them on here. The bracket bolts are gonna be a 18 millimeter. Then you got this Torx head bolt. Pop that out of there. This thing's loose on there. Sometimes you might have to fight them off a little bit. Not sure if the camera will pick it up. There's a pretty good lip on there. So I got new rotors, new pads, clean everything up. Hopefully the calipers are good. Squeeze them in real quick. Well, maybe they were getting a little thin. I like using the channel locks and the old pad to squeeze these things in because if you use a C-clamp, you can get a little more muscle on them. And if you do have one that's starting to seize up, you might miss it. These you can kind of get a feel firsthand with your hands, just kind of get these are squeezing right in, but my kind of rule of thumb is if I can't squeeze them in by hand with my channel locks, then they need to be replaced. Also, always remember to take the cap off the brake fluid reservoir. Get those forearms going, yeah! So that's pretty much it for the front. Everything's back together. Went together smooth, except for it didn't because I had to file down this part right here, the caliper mount, to get the caliper in because it's built up with rust and everything else. That's pretty much it. Gonna do the other side real quick, slap the wheels on, take it for a drive, and see how it does. Well guys, that's gonna do it for me on this Saturday. Got the front and rear brakes all done, took it for a test drive, and I've been driving with warped rotors for like 8 months, and it feels amazing to have smooth braking again. Stops on a dime. Not the first choice of things I want to do on a Saturday, but gotta be due sometimes to get stuff done. Now I can enjoy the rest of my Saturday. I'm gonna finish my thank you. Going to finish my ski and enjoy the rest of my Saturday. Like, comment, subscribe. Swish.